101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book For the Love of God. Care about your people, no other than Mr. Scott Warren.
Yes. How are you, sir? Good to be with you.
I'm fabulous, fabulous like you, and welcome to Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. So I am here in the Orlando, Florida area. I am a podcaster, an author, a speaker, and I have a consulting company as well called Frog Cape. And just released this book, For the Love of God, Care About Your People. It came out in March of this year, and excited about that, and excited to hopefully help some people with it. That's the plan, anyway.
Yes, to help other people. For that, Mr. Scott, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. How do you define authentic care in the context of workplace culture?
I think really what it means is that I was seeing such a disconnect between a company and their mission and values that they would put on their website, for example, and how they actually function every single day in the workplace and in the marketplace. And that means not only how do they serve their clients and customers, but how do they serve their employees, and what does that look like? And oftentimes, I would say more often than not, unfortunately, there's a huge disconnect between what they state is important to them, what they state are their values, and actually the experience that a customer or an employee actually gets interacting with that company. Dramatically different. And so, what I try to do is break it down in terms of authentic care. Authentic is sort of a word that maybe is a little a buzzword or whatever, but I truly mean like to actually care about those that we serve and those that we employ. What does that look like? And it's not just giving them a water bottle with a logo on it. It's actually helping them feel heard and seen and valued, and not just the employee, but also the customer that we serve. Treating it less as a transaction and more as a relationship. And so that's the goal, because I saw it just broken down almost everywhere you go, in almost every business you'd go to, and there just seems to be such a disconnect with what they say is important to them and how they actually treat the customer and the employee.
Interesting goal, Mr. Scott. Very well said. What are the key indicators that a workplace lacks of genuine human connection?
Well, I think what happens initially is just the executive leadership creates these values, and they say, okay, this is what we stand for. This is what's important to us, right? And so you take a look at a company like, say, Chick-fil-A as an example, where you can go to Chick-fil-A and you have this experience there, which is a pleasant experience typically, and and there's always they always finish every sort of engagement with my pleasure. They always say my pleasure, and that's not because it's optional. It's because it's mandated, because it's important to them. It's a value of theirs and how they treat people. And so I find that I've had time after time of interactions with various companies where after a terrible interaction, I will go to their website and just pull up their values and kind of say, I want to see if this mirrors kind of what they say is important to them. And it hardly ever does. It's just sadly there's not a real connection. So a couple different things. One, I think we need to see the people that we employ as individuals, as people, not as workers, not as a means to an end, not as the frontline people to do the work so that we can get a profit, but actually seeing them, even though that's important in business. We're doing business to make money. I fully understand that and accept that. But how do we do it? And I think the key for me is really kind of taking those people, those that we employ, and we're saying, you specifically, you matter. And I'll give you an example of what that looks like. So for me, I'm a very, very picky eater. It's horrible. It's if it's on the kids menu, like that's what I eat. So pizza, chicken fingers, spaghetti, hamburgers, right?
Yeah.
Hardly my family teases me all the time. So it's very, very simple in that way. But if I had my employer say, Scott, you did a fantastic job on that. Here's a gift card for the local sushi restaurant. Well, that would mean nothing to me because I don't eat sushi. So so how do we take a look at having authentic relationships in the workplace? You specifically, your passion is this. You're a photographer, perhaps. So because you're a photographer, yeah, I want to see some of your work. And then I can actually take some of that work and say, hey, do you mind if I like put some of this? I'd like to frame some of this stuff and put it up in the office because this is beautiful. Or you are a someone who loves cooking. Well, that's awesome. You did an amazing job on that project. Let me get you as a reward. I'm going to reward you with like private chef lessons with a notable local chef, and just as a thank you. Right? It's actually connecting things that matter to people, not just generic. Right? You can't just say, "Here's a Walmart gift card." If you never shop there, you always go to Target. So it's just a matter of like, how do we get to know our people so that we can better reward them and care for them in the workplace? The same is true for customers. The more and more we get to know our customers or our clients, same thing is true. I think it's really, really important to see them as individuals and not just sort of a collective.
Indeed, not a collective. Interesting and very well said again, Mr. Scott. How does a culture of care impact employee retention and engagement?
I think you see that everywhere you go. And I think there was an example where um, I spent 29 years in sports and entertainment, running arenas and performing arts centers, and I did that throughout the U.S. and Canada. And I remember there was a time where I had given this sort of rallying speech to let people know that uh, yes, there's a hierarchy, but we're all basically we're all here to pitch in. We're all here to create the best experience we can. And I remember after a Disney on Ice show, just as an example, we had two shows that particular day, and we had to turn the arena around quickly because we had another show to bring people into. And of course, as you if you've been to an arena for that type of thing, you'll see there's leftover nacho containers and drink cups, and there's trash all over the place, and you've got to hurry up and get cleaned up so that you can get ready for the next audience that's coming in. And so I remember on this particular day when I was new to this particular arena, and I remember I went down to the garbage area and got a trash bag and some gloves and went in, and I'm in my suit, and I'm picking up trash as we go along, as the ushers were doing the same. And they kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? Like, and I'm just picking up the trash, keep going because we got another show. And afterwards, they came up to me over and over and over again, thanking me individually. They kept coming up and saying, I've never seen someone in leadership help us clean up the arena. I've never seen that. And they felt like not only it wasn't just words, and I think that's really the key. It's not just words, it's actually the actions. Do I mean what I say? Am I who I say I am? And when that happens, when you show that authentic care for people and you hold they're true to your word, what happens is that not only do they love working there, and they want to go above and beyond for you, because they see that you're willing to do what they're asked to do, and you're not better than certainly in a hierarchy you're above them in a sense. They report to you, but you kind of lay down that pretense. You kind of lay down that position and just say, we got a job to do. Let's get it done. Ultimately, we're here to create this amazing experience for these guests. I can do that just as well as you can. Let's do it together. Let's partner in this. And I think when that happens, they feel cared for, they feel valued, and that's gonna translate into retention. When they feel like they're part of something bigger than just this part time job or this even this full time job, when they feel like they're part of something bigger that allows them to get excited about it, coming to work day after day after day, and not just praying for Friday to roll around so the weekend comes.
Indeed, interesting. Mr. Scott, and what the difference between performative care and authentic care?
Well, I think we oftentimes I hear people do these employee engagement surveys, and they always want to hear get this feedback from all the employees and do you feel like the company cares about your mental health and well-being and all of these things and they get the information and oftentimes they do nothing with it but what happens is what I found one case in particular. There was a friend of mine who was in a business and he was telling me in his company where um, they scored really really low on whether you think or whether the employee believes that their mental health and well-being is important to the company. The company scored very low on that, and in a separate meeting that wasn't even about that at all, they said that there was a surplus of water bottles, and they thought, well, we should just kind of give water bottles out to a lot of the team just because we have these extras. And my friend said, well, hold on, why if we scored really low on that the employee feels that their mental health and well-being is important to us and we have these water bottles, why don't we put the two things together? Why don't we actually say, hey, like maybe a note from the president of the company that can say, hey, I know we're all working really really hard, as a company, and we're so grateful for that, but I know it can be tough to have a work life balance as a result of that. But a healthy you means that you're going to pour into our clients and our customers even better. So we want you healthy. So why don't you take this water bottle and take a break, fill it up with some water, go on a hike, go on a walk, get out there and enjoy it so that you're refueled, you're fired up and ready to go so that you can pour into our clients and customers even more so. It's things like that where you're not just doing a survey, you're not just saying that people are important, that the employees are important or valued. You're actually saying, okay, hold on, let's actually think about this. How do we actually authentically care for them? We scored low on this. We've got these water bottles. Let's pair the two things together and say, hey, we care about you. Get out there, get some peace, get some fresh air so that you can get refueled. Like, and that is actually authentically caring. It's not performative. It's actually you're actually doing it, and the result of that is that they're excited to work for you. They do feel like you care. That score will go higher on your next engagement survey, and all of these. And again, retention is stronger. All of these things happen, but it's when you actually just pause. And I think that's the challenge. We don't just pause and think about how can we pour into our those that we employ, how can we pour into our clients, our customers. Let's actually think about it in a real way that matters, that makes a difference. I think too many times we're just kind of going through the motions and, oh, let's do this promotion, oh, let's do this, oh, let's have you know give out some swag, a coffee mug or whatever to people. They don't care about that. The employees do not care about another coffee mug or a company hat. They want to feel heard, seen, and valued. How do we do that? And then that's going to help us move the needle in profits and retention and all of these other elements that we want so desperately.
Mr. Scott, what are the common fears or misconceptions leaders have about leading with care?
Well, I think it's not easy for everybody. Like, I mean, it's a little different for me. So for me, I'm an empath, so I care. That's sort of my natural default position. Where other people who are brilliant, their default position oftentimes is maybe numbers and analytics and you know profit loss statements and all of this other stuff. And I get that entirely. We need all of that as well in a business. But when you talk about caring for people in a real way, that it's I think that it's difficult for people that aren't naturally inclined to that kind of a posture. They're not really necessarily one who like I said, maybe they're more numbers or analytical, and that's not really, it's not easy for them. It would be like the opposite for me, right? If you asked me to focus less on care for people and focus solely on numbers and analytics, I'm not your guy. Like it's just not. It's just it would be very hard for me. I do my best, but I wouldn't necessarily nail it, right? And I think sometimes also not only that, but I think we also don't know where to start in a lot of ways. Like, what does that look like? So one of the things that I did in every company, every arena that I would manage, I would go in, and one of the first things I would do is reach out to the staff and and have them fill out what I called an employee interest form. And that employee interest form would tell me their favorite food, their favorite restaurants, their hidden talents, their hobbies, favorite music artist, whatever it may be, so that I knew that when it came time to reward that person, I had this sort of go-to list where I could say, okay, their favorite restaurant is this Italian place down around the corner. Okay, perfect. I'll get them a gift card from that place. It's not hard. It's actually just giving them the opportunity to tell you what matters to them, so that you can then reward them in the right way. And I think, and it's something so simple, but I think it's twofold. One's not everyone is inclined, and like I said, in terms of the numbers, and maybe they're more analytical. But I think also it's I don't know where to start. I don't even know what to do with that. What does that look like? And really, for me, one of the places I like to have people start is, what are your values? What do you say you care about? Let's go. Let's start there. And and are you actually doing that? Like I've seen a company that said that they were customer obsessed, and I'm like, I've been to your locations. I haven't felt that at all. And so, um, so let's start. So you're customer obsessed. Okay, what does that even mean? What does that look like? Do the employees even know? Do they have the tools? Do they even know if they're doing it right? like, but like, let's break down your values to kind of see, is this actually something you really value? And so I think there's a lot of things that are just like, where do I start? Well, let's start at the values. First of all, let's start at the employees, because when you pour into the employees, they're more inclined to pour into the customers, right? So if I say to my team at an office, if I said, you know, I want you to give our customers empathy and compassion and kindness, but I'm mean to you, there's a huge disconnect, right? So I'm going to start with my employees. I'm going to What I want them to pour into the clients or the customers is what I'm going to pour into them, and then have that then emulate, because they can see that in action. Now they know what that looks like, so that they can then do it as well. And so I think there's a lot of different ways to start. I think that it's just a fear, um, and I think it's not that it's hard. It just feels hard. It feels like, yeah, I don't know what to do about that. That seems overwhelming. So I'm just not going to do anything. I think one of the other things that we can do, Daniel, is to mandate behavior that we say we value. I think a lot of times what happens is that we say we value something as a company, but then there's nothing actually in place to actually say you must do this. So usually things are highly encouraged, right? Or so because they're afraid, they don't want to like tell people they have to do something. But if you said to the people at Chick-fil-A, I want you to say my pleasure after every interaction, if you want, we'd really like you to. Some people would do it and some people wouldn't. But if it's important to you, you're going to mandate that behavior so that everyone does
Yes, indeed. Don't care what people say about you, people. Go, go, go. What will be your passion? Show to the world. Mr. Scott, what will be your short term and long term goals, and an author, a podcaster, as well as a keynote speaker?
it. For me, ultimately, what I want to do is help create this or bridge the gap for companies. That's sort of my heart right now is to say, look, you're busy. There's so much on your plate. I get that, but so let's let's take a look at let's do a culture audit. Let's take a look at how you function in your actual business, what you think is a way you function, and how you actually function. And I guarantee there's probably a disconnect between the two. And let me help you bridge the gap between those things. And what does that look like? That may mean we're revising the mission statement. That may mean that we're actually changing up some of our values to be more in line with how we actually function, and making those values less. What I always say is making them less aspirational and more operational. How do I actually put these things into place and have people feel like they're valued, and again, that's employees and customers. I think it's so easy for us to have bad customer experience where in the various places we go, because we're just seen as a transaction. And so it's my heart to hopefully help people see people as individuals and care for them and be present in that conversation. So, as an example, if you have a customer in front of you that is at your boba tea shop, and they just say that if you say, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a while," and they say, "Oh, that's we were on vacation in Greece and we haven't been here for a while," you could easily say, "Oh, that sounds great. What can I get you?" Or you can say, "Oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go to Greece. What was your favorite part? Tell me about that." Like, it's a matter of like being present in that interaction, in that moment. It's an actually a relationship, not a transaction. And again, not everyone is going to have that kind of story. So this isn't something you're doing with every single customer that comes through the door, but you are giving yourself permission to be present for when those opportunities do arise. And then you're able to pour into someone and really be present. So my heart ultimately with my speaking engagements with my company Frog Cape and whatever else is just to help bridge the gap between these values and how they actually function day to day in the organization, so that we can create better guest experiences or customer experiences and better employee experiences. Because I think that's really what we want ultimately, is to have everyone really sort of passionately focused on what they do, and having that lead to greater profitability and awareness in the community and everything else that we want to have as a business owner. So that is my hope anyway, long term, is being able to help them create a deeper footprint in their communities, in the country, if they're a national company or internationally, um, and but doing that through authentically caring about your customer and your employees.
Again, very well said. Mr. Scott, very well said, and good luck to your goals in life and looking for more success to your podcast, to your books, and of course, your speaking engagement.
Thank you so
And what
much.
advice would you give to an employee who feels their company lacks of a culture of care?
I think they can always go to my website frogcape.com. They can kind of look there, and I'm happy to assist. One of the things I do is at the in the book, for the love of God, care about your people. There is a culture audit that you can do, and kind of gives you an idea of how are we doing, sort of getting your finger on the pulse of sort of a quick snapshot of these are our values. Are we actually living by these things? And so certainly do the culture audit for sure. I think it's really, really important. And I think this is really going to help people see their customers, see their employees in a new light, hopefully a fresh light that where they really, really want to pour into them. But they can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to help as well.
Indeed, people, if you need help, please reach out, Mr. Scott. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Scott, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry second season, book 101 review in fifth season as well, comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in each fifth season too. Geography 101 and Love Letters on third season. Mental Health 101 is my baby podcast, people. My baby podcast and movie 101 review and music 101 in its fourth season. Science 101 and sex 101 in each first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Scott, if there's one cultural shift you'd want every company to embrace after reading your book, what would it be?
I would say the power of presence. It being present, caring about those that are in front of you, caring about the customer that is in front of you in this very moment, not the next customer, not 10 customers from now, not next month. This customer that's right in front of you right now, how can I best serve them? And these employees that are serving them, how can I best serve them? And I think just giving yourself uh, the desire and the focus on really pouring into that and creating exceptional experiences.
Mr. Scott Warren, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your books, your podcast, as well your speaking engagement?
Thank you so much. So great to be here.
Yes, indeed. So, where do people buy your books, Mister?
You can get them at Barnes and Noble as well as Amazon.com. So they are available for you. Excited about that, and maybe buy a couple and give them to the local business that maybe isn't treating you as well as you'd like. There might be a good opportunity to give them some insight on how they can do that.
Yes, a presence, a gift, people. How about your podcast, Mr. Scott?
I have a podcast called Preach Where You Reach, and it's at preachwhereyoureach.com as well. Also on Apple, Spotify, everywhere you listen to podcasts. That particular podcast is specific to how people incorporate their faith in the workplace and the work that they do, and just being an encouragement to other people, and embodying the characteristics and qualities of Christ in that case with those in the workplace, and being kind, compassionate, loving, all of those things, humble, etc., and how people do that in their workplace. Anyway, available. Preach Where You Reach is at Spotify, Apple, and everywhere else.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Scott Warren because if you support him more and more and more empowering books to come, more and more empowering episodes of the podcast itself. So, Mr. Scott, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate your time so much.
More to come, people. See you soon.